The fourth Stitchdown Patina Thunderdome. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Dale of Dale's Leatherworks, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about these boots and how they treated me over the last 6 months. So these are my iron boots in Grigio shell Cordovan. That's Mariam Grigio shell Cordovan. The good folks at Iron Boots reached out to me to do an announcement for a shell Cordovan pre-order in which we did Ruggine, Grigio, and Brown shell Cordovan. I was super honored to be able to partake in that. Anybody who placed orders for that, thank you for doing that. That was a very exciting run and a rare opportunity for me. So I ended up buying these myself as part of the pre-order. These were essentially my Grail Gray boots, and I did a poll on Instagram because I got the brown shell Cordovan and the gray shell Cordovan. I asked the community, what would you rather see domed, the brown or the Grigio? I think 75% of people voted for the Grigio, and so I went for the Grigio. I'm happy I did because, oh man, are they just so cool. They're so beautiful. The way that they've patinated is just unreal. Very unexpected, actually. But before I continue, what are we drinking today? So this is Frisia vodka, product of the Netherlands. Congratulations to everybody that participated in the Dome this year. Congratulations to all the winners. I doubt I will win. I even doubt that I'll place. I've never placed in the top 10 or in the top 20. But I don't do it to win, though I do give it my all. Don't get me wrong. I give it my all, but I do it to participate and to support the Stitchdown community. There's a lot of good competitors out there. A little background over the last 6 months. This boot is the Iron Boots, the chosen one, they call it, the TCO. And it is in Mariam's Grigio shell Cordovan. You can see quite a bit of heel wear on the back heel, even more on the right boot. Way more on the right boot. If you've been following my channel for a while and you watched my walking videos, I did a series of videos, about 3 videos, talking about embarrassingly the recent discoveries that I've come across in regards to the health benefits of walking. I have had no idea the tremendous health benefits that walking has. Prior to that, I was big into intermittent fasting, though it wasn't doing me much good because I was gaining weight despite my fasting, because when I would end my fast, I would just pig out, you know. There's a lot of health benefits to walking. And so before the Thunderdome even kicked off, I had to set my goal at about 10,000 steps a day, though I found that pretty easy to meet, and I found that I could push it further. So eventually, long story short, it wavered a lot. I vacillated between 11,000 and 23,000 roughly steps a day. Sometimes I'd exceed that to 25,000. That's about 4 hours of walking. I did this every day for the last 6 months, at least 11,000. Usually, I'm going to give it an average. I'm going to call it at about 15, 17,000 steps a day for the last 6 months. Now, I was just thinking about this. I have a jacuzzi out there in the backyard that I cleaned up getting ready for the winter, because that's when we all use the jacuzzi. We haven't used the jacuzzi once this winter. Why? Because I've actually become addicted to walking. I can't stop. Realizing the health benefits and how it burns fat the fact that it doesn't release ghrelin. I go into this in my other videos, but the reason why walking is superior to running or any other exercise for fat loss specifically is because you don't tear up muscle, your body doesn't release ghrelin, which is your hunger hormone, and your appetite doesn't go up. In other words, it's one of the only physical activities you can do without having to pay for it later with an increased appetite, right? When I lift weights, when I run, I am constantly battling the appetite. But with walking, there is no consequences with my appetite. And so I've been doing it. I walk at my day job. I put in a good hour of walking during the day, during my lunch breaks. And then after work, I go to dinner with the family. We have dinner, and I'm out there. I'm out there an hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours every day. So doing a ton of walking. It also doesn't matter. The conditions have not stopped me at all. I've walked through salt. I've walked through snow, through torrential downpours. In fact, the last walk that I did before this Thunderdome ended, there was a lightning storm outside with torrential downpours, and I walked outside with an umbrella in my Momotaros, which are not stretch denims, and these. And by the time I got back, I was soaked all the way up to the waist. What's funny about that is my Momotaros did shrink a little bit. I wore them again today. They did shrink just a little bit, but I'm happy that they've sort of stretched back out again, so that's good. Yeah, I've done a butt ton of walking. I did the math. We're looking at, so I wore these boots every other day for the last 6 months, and on those days, 15 to 20,000 steps a day, that adds up to about 1.3 million steps that I did in these, and it was not all clean weather. I was doing a lot of walking in the snow, through the salt, through the woods, thorn bushes, sometimes over ice, sometimes almost slipping. A lot of the time when I'm walking, I'm looking at my phone, I'm listening to a podcast or something, or looking at my phone. At one point I did walk into a fence post, got a big gash on my head. So the damage you see on the boots, I also took physical damage too. All right, I'm walking on ice, slipping a lot, walking into curbs. See, I'm walking, most of the walking I did was in the dark. I give all this as a lead up because I posted these on Instagram, and it's funny because there's a lot of people that actually doubt that I got this patina through wear. A lot of people think I took a sanding belt to this or something like that. I actually don't have a sanding belt. I have sandpaper. I have sandpaper down here, smooth grit, coarse grit, but this is for leather working. I took no sandpaper to these. There's a lot of scratches, and I'll show the progression throughout the months. I am pigeon-toed. I've been that way since birth. One funny anecdote is the reason why you see this gash here on this boot and on this boot, see how they match, is because I am pigeon-toed. What's funny is when I was young, my mom took me to the doctor. The doctor said, "Oh yeah, well, he's not too pigeon-toed. You could just tell him to try to walk straight." And so my whole life, I've purposefully, every time I walk, I purposefully have to consciously point my feet forward to look like I'm walking straight, walk like a normal person. What's funny is, as I was doing my 15 to 20,000 steps a day, I started getting pretty bad hip pain in my left hip specifically. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to walk as naturally as my body wants to. And so I started walking very pigeon-toed, and immediately the pain went away. And it's funny because, the way my body's designed, if I just walk the way it wants to walk, I don't have any pain. I started walking pigeon-toed again because I don't, who cares what people think. Yeah, I racked up a fairly decent patina. Did I want more? Yes. So let's talk about this patina, and let's talk about why we're seeing what we're seeing, right? So these obvious rub-off marks, the thing to understand about this Mariam Shell Cordovan is that it's a finished leather. Finished means there's a top coat of paint over it. That's all that means. As the boot would come in contact with high stress points, the top coat started to come off. This top coat here started to come off almost immediately. In fact, it was evident within the first month. And I will once again show patina progress pictures month by month. But I got a comment on Instagram, and the reason it bothered me was because it got quite a few likes. People agreed that I took a sander to these, and it's kind of off-putting in a way after I walked as much as I freaking walked in these. If I'm gonna put in all this work, and I know I put in all this work, and then I'm just, at the end of it, just to get an accusation like that, and other people agree, it's kind of a letdown. It's like, dude, you could get on social media and come to this snap judgment over the course of a few seconds, but I actually lived this over the last 6 months, walked my ass off. So these big chips of the paint that came off, these started to form fairly early. The reason being is because my toes are hitting against each other as I walk, and so you see these scrapes here, and they're pretty much equal on each side. If I was gonna take a sander to it, then you'd think it'd be more like sort of random, but they match. Like, you see this main portion, these match, and then you look at the back, these match because the ankles are hitting up against each other. And then oh, look at that, the same exact spot on the inner ankle. Like, if I plan this, I'm a damn good planner. So you see we've got this little piece here that rubbed off, and then you could see on this one, it's not gone through the paint yet, but it's starting to form. This is like the Shroud of Turin. Like, I can't plan this. Like, you could go back, you could reverse engineer every little nick on these and then compare them and do a full-blown analysis and conclude that there is no way I did this artificially. It's ridiculous. Very superficial wear on the back heel stays. What's interesting is, so there's like almost a top coat of gray, and then right beneath that, so the top coat of gray is like very thin, but then right beneath that there's almost a bluish gray that starts to come through before we get into the natural sub layers. Then we get here, this is me scuffing it on a curb. So all the outside stuff is me like scuffing curbs, logs, thorns, right? That's on the outside of the boot. And then this, I believe, is from rub from my denim. Most of the interior wear is going to be from just hitting the other boot. That's all that's from. So outside, mostly scuffs from nature. Inside, wear from hitting the inside of the boot. So these are my new Caswell boots in graphite horse rump. Both of these leathers are from Mariam Tannery. This is a horse rump. This is a shell cordovan. This horse rump is vegetable tanned, and this is what's called aniline dyed. Okay, so the aniline dyed is like, think about woodworking, right? When we talk about woodworking, you could paint wood. This is painted, or you could stain wood. The stain is a pigment that permeates, that absorbs deep into the grain of the wood, and you still see the natural characteristics of the wood. Just like here, you're seeing the natural characteristics of the leather. I could see the pores, I could see the honeycombing. On this, I can see none of it. It's opulent. It's perfect when it starts out. Why? Because this is a finished leather. This top coat is a paint. The paint wears off, it starts to expose the natural shell cordovan underneath. Whereas this, when this patina patinates up, it's completely struck through. Let me give an example here. I have a kiltie here in graphite horse rump, and you can see it's sort of glossy gray on this side. This is also TPR finished, but it is an aniline dye. The reverse side is also gray. What's going on here? This natural showing through shows that this shell cordovan was not dyed. It was painted. Because if it were dyed, it would look like this as I wore through the paint, but it's not dyed with an aniline dye. It is, in fact, simply painted over. And so I expect that's what would happen with the other colors of Mariam shell cordovan. Whereas this graphite horse rump, it's vegetable tanned, it's got a TPR finish on the surface, and that's what we're seeing here. So as you wear through this TPR finish, all you're going to see is a dulling effect, but you won't actually see a color change really. It'll lighten up as it gets nicked and stuff, but you're not going to see a color change from gray to natural like you're seeing here. That's, again, because these are painted, these are aniline dyed. So hope that clears that up. The official description from an online supplier says that Mariam shell cordovan is a vegetable tanned oiled leather with sago, which is tallow, and they say it's a semi-gloss finish with an aniline effect. Extremely fine and resistant leather. Medium firmness. So it says the shell cordovan is a part of the horse leather that is vegetable tanned and then finished on the flesh side. So the finishing here means painted. Specific information on this shell is scant on the internet. Not many people know really what's going on with it, which I guess explains some of the confusion. Iron Boots has the best information that I've been able to find so far. The rest of what I've said has been my own interpretation. Iron Boots says, quoting from Mariam, shell cordovan is an equine skin made with a flat, fibrous muscle or shell under the skin on the horse's rump, also called the breech. It is worked on part of the cartilage, while keeping the flower inside, and only the master tanners can bring this particular preciousness to completion. The leather takes its name from the city of Cordovan, Spain, where it was first produced by the Visigoths in the 7th century and later in the countries of northern Africa. It is a difficult and expensive leather to make. Between the 19th and 20th centuries, it was mainly used to sharpen razors of barbers. More recently, it has been increasingly used for shoes, wallets, bags, and watch straps. Thanks to its aesthetic qualities and its exceptional durability, it is the maximum expression of the tanning art. And so yeah, that specifically is in reference to a Grigio horse rump plain toe chosen one. With that, I'll shut it down. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I want to hear your thoughts. How did I do on this year's Thunderdome? I don't know. Jury's out. I have a lot of friends that have kind of given up on the Thunderdome. I might give up too. It's fun to participate in, but in life, you know, we have priorities, things we need to focus on. I think with my rotation, I've often contemplated it. Does it even make sense to participate in something like that? I do it for the community. I do it because I want to participate with everybody else. At the same time, I do have a lot of boots that have been getting neglected, so I actually don't know if I'm going to continue. I'll still go to the boot camps and stuff. I think it might make more sense for me personally just to wear my boots and do update videos as I get them. I think maybe focusing on one pair for a period of 6 months just takes away from my natural organic flow of my rotation. So this might be my last Thunderdome. I love the Thunderdome. I commend anybody else that participates in it. This was fun, but I think this might be my last go of it. A lot of my friends have had to back out as well, and I'm starting to kind of see their reasoning in a more magnified light. As I want to hear your thoughts. How did I do? Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see y'all in my next video.